Welcome to the Kristi Jones Show, your go-to space for thriving in business and life. I'm Kristi, and after decades in the multifamily housing industry, a business owner, and now speaker and coach, I help ambitious professionals step into bold leadership, ditch the self-doubt, and have more of what they want, more success and more fulfillment. If you're ready to flourish and thrive, you are in the right place, my friend. Well, hello, fabulous people. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited that we get this time together today. And what I'm going to talk to you about today, I was sitting here thinking, okay, what am I actually going to drop here at the end of July that could be of the most help and use for you to be able to put something to work for yourself, like put another tool in your toolkit, not just another random podcast that we listen to and obtain information. Because a lot of times we think we need more information. And while information is good, it's always great to stay curious and learn more. But today I'm going to shed a little light on that because it's technically not what you need. We actually need to be making more decisions. So why I feel like this comes at the right time is that I was sitting here thinking that a lot of times over the summertime, a lot of educational conferences are taking place over the summer. Employers, maybe, at where you work, they've signed you up and sent you to a workshop or a education conference or an industry conference, something that they're investing in you. So you're going to this to maybe get another certification or just to learn about what's, going on in your industry and staying, on top of the latest and the greatest. Regardless of what that is specifically, and even like as an entrepreneur, like you're sending yourself to conferences, workshops, putting yourself in rooms where you can expand your knowledge, learn new things, grow yourself, grow your mindset. So a lot of that happens over the summer. And I thought, right now, this is what I need to be talking about. I actually teach a workshop that follows conferences or, certifications, things like that, that all come in at the end and teach this really quick workshop to make sure that attendees are getting the most out of what they just took in and they actually put it to work, whether it's in their career, in their business, or in their life. So I'm really excited to talk about this today. Have you ever gone to an event like that? Have you ever gone to, whether it was a workshop or an education conference? I know for the apartment industry, the huge annual conference that takes place, the education conference that takes place, just happened in June. So, I mean, thousands and thousands of multifamily professionals, both on the operator side and on the service side, are going to this conference and the trade show. And they're getting so much knowledge and information and meeting new people and making new connections. And for many years, I went to that one specifically and others throughout the year. And so, have you ever done something like that? Gone to something that is to grow and expand you and your knowledge, whether it's personally or professionally. And man, you leave, you are so inspired, you are fired up, you are just jacked up on Mountain Dew. Like you leave that event or you leave that workshop and you're just like on fire. You're so inspired. You've learned all these things. You have these ideas, these visions, these goals, and you're ready to just light the world on fire. And then 6 weeks later, you raise your head from your day-to-day life, your work, all the things, and you realize that nothing has changed. I've been there, and it doesn't feel good. It does not feel good. I have done that too in years past. And the problem is that we don't need more information. Most of us already know so much knowledge. We know so many things that we could actually be doing to improve our life, to improve our business, to improve ourselves. The problem is that we're not making enough decisions that actually take that information and turn it into action. So today I want to talk about that. I want to dive into that because I want to set you up for success so that when we are taking on new information, whether it's through a book, whether we've gone to a workshop, whether we're going to a conference, and maybe you've volunteered yourself to go do this, or maybe it's a situation where who you work for has said, hey, they're investing in you. Like, I want to send you to this. So you're going and you're getting inspired and you're learning new things, only to sometimes, once you get back in your surroundings, in the real world, in the day to day, where the problems are actually showing up, the challenges are there. You've got all the things you're juggling in your personal life, your home life, your work life. All those things are now front and center, and the inspiration has gone away. And you realize maybe a month or 2 months later that you have not implemented anything that you just went and learned and felt so inspired about. You haven't followed up with any of the new connections that you made while you were there. Time has just flown by and nothing has changed for you. So I have sat in that seat. I know what that feels like, which is why I ended up creating the workshop that I created, so that immediately after you go to something like that or you have that experience, you know what to do with it. You know how to get the most out of it. So this is about making decisions that can really help you turn that information into action and then into the results that you're wanting to create. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. First of all, I hope your summer's going great. This is dropping at the end of July. So it's right now, it's earlier in July, and it's hot as ever in about every place, at least in the United States. I realize that it's not hot everywhere in the world right now, but here in the US, we're cranking up the heat. It is summertime. There are serious heat warnings out in a lot of the areas. Okay, I have to share this little story with you before I jump into it, because let's talk about the weather for a sec. I am recording this right now in San Diego, actually Carlsbad, California. And weather is, I call it like Groundhog Day here. I live here. And also, well, y'all have been, if you follow along, you know, I've kind of been all over the place lately, but Florida and California are our two home bases at this time. And we are transitioning out of our house in Norman, Oklahoma. So let me just touch on this on the weather, because I just found this really, really funny. And I think that you will, if you've lived anywhere else besides in Southern California, you'll get this. I think that if you've only lived in Southern California, and bless your soul if that's the case, because the weather is amazing here. And I call it Groundhog Day, where you wake up, and at least on the coastal, I know I'm talking about the beachfront area, so there's not a lot of variance in temperature, not a lot of change. Like, we are under a heat warning, heat advisory right now, and our high, I think today, is 79 here on the coast, which I don't even think we've gotten there yet, but allegedly it's going to be 79 degrees, which is very warm for Carlsbad. It is. And it does feel warmer than usual. But anyways, it's all over the news. You know, they're like, oh, you know, preparing everybody, even in the coastal communities, you know, prepare for the heat. And weather is a real thing. I acknowledge that. Heat, like serious heat and humidity in certain places, very dangerous. You have to like pay attention, take care of yourself, especially when you're working outdoors, you know, being outside, having kids play outside, things like that. But I always find it like when I'm watching the news here and they're warning me about the temperature, and I'm like, this is nothing. Like, this is nothing. So while it is on the warmer side for San Diego, it doesn't, to me, like, it feels like nothing. I also just flew here from Florida, and I was there for just a few days here recently, and it was hot, but it still didn't feel like it wasn't like the like hot, 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 but it was hot, and you have higher humidity. So coming from that and then coming here and landing in San Diego, I was like, I mean, it's like night and day. You know what I mean? So I just got a big kick out of the weather warnings on the news today and yesterday. Also, I've lived in a lot of places in my lifetime. Well, maybe not a lot, but I'll just share it with you. Because if you've lived in a variety of places, then you understand like not many places have picture perfect weather year round or day in, day out. And I will say, here we call it living in the bubble here in Carlsbad because I mean, the weather is so consistent year round. It's insane and wonderful, like a good insane, not a bad, not like a crazy insane, like a good insane. Like it's unbelievable. But so I've lived in several places in Southern California from up by I mean I'm talking over the course of my lifetime, but areas by LA, inland here in San Diego County, on the coast in San Diego County. Um, I've lived obviously in Oklahoma, at Norman, Oklahoma, smack dab in the middle. So, we get the tornadoes and all the things. So experienced many years of the weather there. I've lived in Dallas, Texas. I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia, and now I've experienced living in Florida. So I feel like that's a good sprinkling of places that I've lived in my lifetime. And I can say that the heat warnings that I was getting advised this morning on the news here in San Diego, I mean, it's nothing near the heat that I've experienced in living in all the other places that I have talked about. So I think we could just take a breath. We're going to be okay. Now, wherever you're at, and like Steve's in Oklahoma right now, and it is hotter than all get out. And um, I've been chatting with him throughout the day. And so, I mean, but it's still great weather. It's just hot. You know, I like heat. I will take heat over cold any day of the week. Any day of the week. Now, I know we all have different, it's like liking chocolate or vanilla ice cream. It's just a preference. Am I right? I mean, come on. So, I am always going to gravitate towards warmth and I am going to move away from cold. So, that's just my personal preference. When it comes to ice cream, I'm probably a chocolate girl. I'm a chocolate girl. Let's just get that out in the open. All right. So I hope wherever you're at this summer, I hope that you're staying cool, you're staying hydrated, and you're having a great summer. Now, let's get back on to what I was here to talk about today. So if you have just gone to a conference, a seminar, a workshop, read the book, done the course, whatever, got the certification, whatever it is, I want to talk about how you can take information and how to create that transition into making decisions, taking action. And so you can actually have transformation in your life, in the work that you do. So you get to apply this in whatever part of your life makes the most sense. But a lot of it was because I've been talking to a lot of people that have just come off of the conference I was talking about with the National Apartment Association, and just lots of information, lots of education series, lots of inspiration, meeting new people. And so, what are we going to do with that now that we've gotten back into our home base? Now that we're back into our routine of what we do, how do we implement that? How do we get the value out of what we just went through? And so, like I said, I made that workshop because years ago, many years ago, I found myself, going to a lot of these things. Obviously, they were for multifamily housing. And I would just get caught up in the busyness of like taking care of business once I got back home. And I would lose sight of some of the things that I wanted to implement. And then I finally figured out how to do that for myself. So that's what I'm sharing with you today. I'm going to pass on those little nuggets of information. So oftentimes, what it is we will get back into things and raise our head like 2 months later, take a breath and realize, oh my gosh, I have not implemented any of the things that I learned, or I wanted to stay in touch with a couple people that I met there. I feel like we could, be good for each other and inspire each other or collaborate or do business or whatever. But you've lost sight of that. And so often, what we'll find is that we will look at what the next thing is. Well, I need to chase something else. So maybe you think, well, I got to find that next conference. I need to sign up for another deal. I need to get back in. I know I need to get certified in something else. I need to get another certification. I need to get a couple more initials after my name. I need to read another book. I need to go to a workshop. I need to, always thinking that something is missing. Instead of thinking that something is missing, I encourage you to pause and realize that that something that you're chasing isn't the issue. It's learning how to take what you've just learned and you've just simply lost that traction on how to turn that into something for yourself, how to get the transformation out of that. Motivation, which I'm not a fan of the word motivation, first of all. It's so fleeting. I mean, motivation's like a feeling. How many times in a day do your feelings change? Hello. I mean, we we are human beings, and if we live our life through our feelings, trust me, it will be chaotic. So motivation doesn't stay around forever. It's almost like it has an expiration date. So when you're at that conference, when you're at that seminar, when you're at, especially, and I'm huge on in-person events, I think they are so valuable. But when you're there, everybody's optimistic. Everybody's on the same page because they're growing. They're there for the same reasons. They're wanting to grow themselves. They're wanting to, whether it's something personal and like personal development, or it's something that they're wanting to grow in their career or grow their company, grow their team. I mean, everybody is there to grow. Like they're all there for the same reason, essentially. And everyone's talking about possibilities and what is possible and how they got this and how you can overcome this challenge. It's very inspiring. You are immersed in an environment that supports change. When you are there, then you go home. Then the conference wraps up. The seminar is over. You get in your car, or you jump on a plane, or you take the train, and you travel back home. You go home, you settle in, you got emails, you have laundry. If you have kids, you have their schedules, you have making meals, you have doing all the things, checking the list, almost like Santa Claus, checking the list, checking it twice. You're doing that. Mental, like even if it's just your mental load, that's what you're doing. You're thinking of the meetings you have going on, what you have coming up, the deadlines. The environment that you step back into is not the same environment that you were in when you felt inspired, when you felt like there was so much possibility, that all these things that I'm seeing and that I'm learning and I'm meeting these people, this is possible for me. You feel that way when you're in it. But then you find yourself sitting at your desk, driving in the car, going home from work, making dinner in the evening, and you realize that your habits haven't changed. You're back in the regular environment that you started in. And I want you to realize that there's nothing wrong with you. This is not a character flaw. So a lot of times people go in that place where they just start beating themselves up. They start giving the negative self-talk, like, you've done this before. How many times are you going to go do something, or go take a class, or go get certified, or go to this conference, and you come back and everything's just going to be the same. You still have the same frustrations. You're still struggling with the same things. Nothing has changed. So you start beating yourself up. It's not a character flaw. This is just human nature. Life is lifing, okay? You know that term. Maybe I don't know. I made that up, I guess. Life is lifing. I say that a lot. That just means life is happening. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop just because you went and you did this, had this event, and you went to this experience, and you're like fired up, and you're just like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. And then, but life is lifing. So you come back to it and you're acclimating, and you didn't change. You haven't changed any of your habits. You just meshed right back in. You just got right back into the flow of things. So quit beating yourself up over that. That is just human nature, and it can sneak up on us. But here's what you can do. You can be aware of that. And especially like if you can be aware of this before you go do the event, then when you come back, you know exactly what to implement. But if this is you now, you're hearing this, you're like, oh my God, this is so me. I went to that conference. I went, whether maybe it was the multifamily housing, the NAA that I was just talking about. Maybe it's something else, whatever your industry is. You're like, that was me. And I was feeling so good about everything when I was there. Like I could do these things. I could make these changes. I could implement these things. I could change these things about myself, show up in a different way, and it's not happening. So you're frustrated, and some negative self-talk starts creeping in, and then your confidence level drops a little bit. So you see the circle, then it just becomes like this rinse and repeat deal. So I'm going to give you a couple things of what you can do to get out of that, or to not get there again. If you know this before you go to the conference, to the workshop, to the seminar. So we have to focus on implementing, putting into action, making decisions. So the motivation fades, all right? We get back into the norm, like we don't have all the flashing lights and the music and all the things. When we go listen to the speakers and they tell us these stories, and like all of that's dissipated. We're back in the day-to-day, your normal day-to-day. So I want you to ask yourself this. What is one decision, just one decision that you can make this week because of what you learned? Not 10. We don't need 10 decisions. I encourage you to make one decision. What is that one decision that you can make this week based on someone that you talked to, something that you learned? What is that? Maybe that decision, if you're drawing a blank right now, let me give you some ideas, because I know sometimes we get that deer in the headlight look. It's like, I don't know. I mean, what would that one decision make? It might be one new conversation that you need to have. It might need to be a conversation with someone that you met there, a follow-up conversation. Maybe that one decision, putting it into action, maybe it's that one difficult email that you've been dragging your feet on for weeks now that you know you need to send. And you haven't because you just don't want it. It just feels ugh. Because it's difficult. And you got to say some hard things. You got to make sure that you deliver the message in a way that is like clear, but it's a hard topic. Maybe that's the one decision you make this week. Is you're going to get that monkey off your back. Get it done. So write the one difficult email. Maybe you learned about leadership. What is one leadership habit that you learned about that you can decide this week to do, to try it, to put your own spin on it? Do it in your way. A lot of times we go and we learn these things and we think we need to be a cookie cutter of whatever they taught us. No, you know, zoom out and look at the overall, like the theory of what they were teaching, but you have to insert yourself. Like if you're using someone else's words, it's not going to be you. You're going to sound like a phony. You're just rehearsing words that someone else told you to say, but it's not really authentic. It's not going to come across the same way and it won't be as effective. So put yourself into one of the leadership traits, one of the leadership skills that you were taught. Give that a go this week. Maybe if this is on, you realize that you needed to focus on your health and your wellness and so that you could be the best version of you. So maybe it's that one workout that you do this week, that you keep that commitment and do. Maybe it's that one phone call that you make. Maybe you learned about time management and how and creating some boundaries of you just can't say yes to everything and you need to say no to some things and yes to some things and that feels really uncomfortable for you. Maybe this week you need to decide what is one boundary that you're going to create and stick with this week. So those are some ways that you can make one decision this week from something that you just learned. The main thing is that, and again, I go back to the information. The information is great. We always want to be learning and being curious of, how to do something more efficiently, how to better ourselves, how to be the best version of you that you can. Because that's always going to give you the most powerful and excellent experience in this life for you to do that. But if you don't implement, make a decision, put it into action, I don't care what you know, it is going to have zero impact on your progress. Just knowing more stuff. I mean, great. Know more stuff if you want to, but it's not going to give you impact. It's not going to get you results. So, one decision this week. What is that one decision that you can make of something that you just learned? You got to get the action part going. That's what builds momentum, and that's what helps you build confidence. So, all right, next thing. The next thing I like to teach and encourage, and I go deeper into this when I actually teach this as a workshop. But you've got to decide, you have to make the decision and decide before you feel it. Okay, many times I talk about from an identity standpoint that we have to make the decision before we feel it. We can't sit and wait to feel ready or to feel confident or to feel like that leader that I just went through all this leadership training, but I still don't feel that way. You've got to decide. You've got to decide. You've got to make up your mind before you actually feel like it. So a lot of times when you're going to wait till you feel like it, you're going to put it off. Well, you know what? I'll give that a go next week. Monday, I will try that. Or, we're so busy in the summer and I just have so much going on. So I'm just going to wait till September because then the kids will be back in school and I'll have time. So yeah, I'm just going to wait. Or, you know what? I'm not going to focus on my wellness or getting good nutrition or squeezing in a walk or a workout until the vacation is over. I'm just not going to do it until vacation's over. Or I love this one. I have to wait until life settles down. It's so busy. You guys, life just evolves and it always keeps moving. And I don't know what the settle down, like this, we're waiting for it to settle down. I've been through so, and I speak from experience, okay? I have been through decades of life, and I've been through a lot of different seasons of life. I've been, the person I was before I was a mother, and then I became a mother. And so parenting is very busy. That's very busy. Young babies, busy. Toddlers, busy. The next stage, very busy. Teenagers, busy. Um, it's always busy. I'm an empty nester. I've been an empty nester since I was 42 years old. My life is extremely full, and I love that. I love that. So when life settles down, well, it will, when it will settle down, I will tell you when your life's going to settle down. Your life will come to a complete standstill when you are dead. When you take your last breath, you know what? It will just be still. You'll have all the time in the world. And I'm trying to, a little sarcasm here. That's my sense of humor. But seriously, what are we waiting for? Life is always going to life. Life is lifing. Life is lifing, and we are in different seasons, and there's different things. And then when you get older, then I know many people that are in, I'm not in that space, but they're still have children at home and they have aging parents. A lot of times, if you've waited to have children, and you had children, I don't know, I won't say later in life, but like you started um, maybe in your 30s, then you can quite honestly find yourself where you're still raising your kids. And then you're also dealing with elderly parents or elderly family members and carrying those responsibilities. I know many people that are in that, they call it sandwich generation. I know many people like that. Um, but if you're like me and you had kids when you were really young, you don't have kids at home anymore. Like I said, by 42, I mean, the house was crickets. What? I mean, it was quiet. You know what I mean? You could hear crickets. It was so quiet. I guess that's the way to say it. So when we always say, I'm going to wait till things slow down, life is lifing. So you got to figure out like how to do it even when life is happening. You just do. So successful people, they decide. Successful, I can honestly tell you that when I sit and think about what has worked for me and allowed me to experience success in my life, in my business, it's been my ability to make decisions. And that's not just with me. When I talk, all the other people that I know that have been successful, people I've interviewed, when I ask them these questions, it's making decisions. Successful people make decisions. And then the second leg of that is they act. They take action. I know I talk till I'm blue in the face when it comes to taking action, but I'm just here to tell you that it is making decisions. It is taking action. That is how you move the needle in your life. That is how you're going to get the results. That is how you're going to implement all the things that you've learned. So don't forget that. Don't wait till you feel like it. Decide and then take action. Also, I was talking about identity. Let's jump into that one a little bit because I don't want to end this without touching on this again. But you learning, you've gone to the conference, you've done the seminar, maybe you got the certification, you got the initials after your name, whatever, whatever the thing is. You've just learned some things. But that information does not change your identity. Your thoughts and your beliefs do. That's what changes your identity. The information may change what you know, but it's the thoughts and it's the decisions that you make on repeat that begin to change who you become. I coach on this, I teach on this, I dive into this in depth in my in person or I've done it virtually as well as a webinar, but in this workshop. But information alone, that does not change your identity and how you're going to start showing up. It is your thoughts and the beliefs that you hold about yourself that you create your identity. You create that through your thoughts on repeat, through the beliefs that you hold about yourself. And the last thing I want to close with when it comes to how do I make the most out of what I just went to go, this experience I went and had, this retreat I went to, this conference I went to. I have a lot of multifamily and property management professionals that follow the podcast. So if you just went to the National Apartment Association conference in June and you're like, okay, what's one more thing? Ask yourself better questions. Ask yourself better questions. Instead of saying, oh man, what did I learn? I want you to ask yourself this. What am I going to do because of what I just learned? Not rehashing what did I just learn? What am I going to do because of what I just learned? Another really great way to like frame this up for yourself is to ask yourself, what out of all that you just experienced, what deserves a place in my life after attending this conference? What deserves a place in my life after I've just went through this training, this seminar, this conference? These type of questions, those demand action. So ask yourself these better questions, not just the easy no-brainer. What did I learn? What am I going to do because of what I learned? What deserves a place in my life now that I know what I know? Those are much more effective questions to ask yourself. So I'm going to wrap on that. I am going to wrap on that. And I am considering just because of this time of year, I'm considering opening back up and doing an online Maximize Your Growth webinar. So stay tuned for info on that. As I've been sitting here talking with you, that's kind of been going in the back of my brain that would be really of so much value right now as we come to the close of the summer months. You know, I really feel like that to maximize our growth after we've gone through something like this is not only to revisit and refresh, but that continued support. I can't emphasize that enough. Once you go to an in-person event and you've met new people, or you've done it maybe with some coworkers or people from your own area, from your own company, is that continued support that is needed. Stay in touch with people that you've met, make new connections. Maybe if there was a group of you that went to, whether it's the seminar or whether it's a full-blown in-person conference, stay in touch with them. Like if there's a group from work and 5 or 6 of you went, maybe like once a month, you guys, whether it's jumping on a Zoom together, meeting for coffee, going to lunch, whatever you can squeeze into your schedule, but have be the checks and balances for one another. Share what you're getting from that. So the ongoing connection and support, that's key to get like the most mileage out of what you just learned. I would highly, highly, highly suggest that. I recently, a quick story, earlier this year, I went through a certification on stage leaders for when I was crafting and revising my new keynote speech. And I did that with a group of people. And obviously, we're learning, we're growing, we're taking in new information. And I mean, I do a lot of what I just shared with you. I mean, that's what I do to keep myself in check so that I'm not just learning new things, but I'm actually putting it to work and getting the most out of it. And one of the key things after we got the certification, it was like an 8 week process to do this. And I'm very proud of myself that I completed that, given all that we had going on with moving, and that was Oklahoma, Florida, finding a place to live, all the moving parts of that, which all of that's still not done, but we do have a place to live in Florida. We moved in. That happened in April. But all of that was going on at the time I was doing this. I mean, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, and I got to, show up for the things, and I've got to be doing the work and creating my new keynote and refining the keynote that I had and making it the very best. So I'm delivering the most value to the audience and helping them get the most transformation of the time that we spend together. So, anyways, at the close of this, was the option to join this, be part of this continued group of all the people. If you got your certification, you could, continue on in this other container, this other group. And I without didn't even hesitate. I signed up for that and I did that because that is the connection, the continued support, the sharing, because we just went through the same thing together. So we're on the same page, we're growing. Like it keeps that, in the beginning of the podcast, when I talked about when you do these in-person events, that it's very inspiring and everyone's going in the same direction. Everybody is there to grow, to learn. Like everybody's on the train, everybody's going in the same direction, right? But then when you go back to your base camp, not everybody's on this going in the same direction. Not everybody's interested in growing, and not everybody's right. So you're back in reality. So it's really important to stay plugged in with individuals that are on that same path as you, that maybe were at that very same event as you were, because that has been really helpful for me. And this is like the most recent example I can give you of how I've put that to work, is that I've stayed plugged in to this group to where I can jump on these Zooms with everybody on Friday if I want to, if my schedule allows, if I want to show up and do some work in the group together, rehearse my work. So it has really been, it's a game changer. And I encourage you to do the same by staying in touch. That continued support, it really does make a huge, huge difference. All right, my friend. Well, I really hope I will be back to tell you if I'm gonna do and open up doors to that webinar. I'm gonna think about that. What might be the good day to do that? Um, but I want you I want to challenge you just at the end of this podcast. I just want to challenge you to ask you what is what decision, ask yourself this, what decision can I make in the next 24 hours because of what I've learned, what I've learned just in this podcast? Yeah, you could stretch it out to a week, but what could you like decide within the next 24 hours? What could that be? A lot of times we like to convince ourselves that we're making progress because we're always learning. Doesn't that sound nice and fluffy? Learning is not the same thing as changing and actually implementing. That's one of the things when people get too caught up in, I just need to go back to school. I just need to take another class. I just need to this. And it serves a time there is a time and a place for that. But I also know people that have been career lifetime achievers and just going to school per se and learning information and never making a dime, never putting it into play. So, which is fine, but just call it what it is. Learning is not the same as changing. There comes a point in time when all you need to do is you need to decide and then take that first step. Take that first step. That's all you have to do. That builds momentum. All right, my friend, thank you so much for being here. I will keep you posted on if I do that webinar. And I will put a link. Actually, you know what? Here's the deal. If you want to know if I'm going to do that or what the latest is, because I am going to do it, I'm just like now I'm thinking about the right week, the right month, like when to offer that. I want you to go down the show notes and I want you to get on my email list. If you are not on my email list, hello, you need to be on my email list. You will get all the good stuff, okay? So go get on my email list. The link will be in the show notes. And that way you won't miss out. You'll know when I open the doors to it, when I do it, when I offer it, and you'll be in the know, okay? All right. Until next time, stay fabulous, and I will see you soon. Take care. Friend, thanks for tuning into the podcast today. Take a moment and share this episode with that one or two people that you thought of as you were listening to today's episode. And I would love your quick review. It would mean the world to me for you to drop a review here on the podcast. And don't forget to follow and like the show so you never miss a beat on how to thrive in business and life.